Feb. 9, 1965. Dear Suzie, I received 2 letters today, one from you and one from your mother. Your mother thanked me for the package and told me the other things she wants from here. Then your letter telling me all the things you want. I have already checked on the perfume over here, and I guarantee you don't want any of it. It is cheap, but it's made in Vietnam and smells terrible. If I ever find any real French perfume, I'll get you some. As for a jacket with a helicopter on it, I had already planned on bringing one for each of us and the boys when I come home. Evidently, you don't pay much attention to the letters I write you. I distinctly remember telling you what I put in for when I put in my preference sheet. I put in for MacDill Field or Fort Dix. I don't want to go straight from here to Germany. In fact, I don't care if I never leave the States when I get back. Another thing, I spent one whole letter on the subject of your meeting me in Hawaii. You never bothered to answer. As to the subject of your smoking, I certainly can't say anything against it if you want to smoke, and I remember suggesting a long time ago when you wanted to lose weight that smoking would do it. But you don't need to lose weight now. So I can't say I'm overjoyed at the idea. You mentioned that now we could sit and smoke together. We don't need anything else in common. My love for you and our 3 fine boys are all that I ask that we have in common. But, like I say, if you want to smoke, I certainly can't say anything about it, as much as I smoke. But don't say you are doing it, or do it just so we will have something to do together when I get home. Believe me, we will have plenty of things to do together. Well, I guess that is enough complaining. I suppose you know about the trouble we have had over here. Soc Trang was hit. An outpost about 1.5 miles from here was hit at the same time. We sat out in our helicopters on the runway watching the shooting. We were all scared to death that they were going to hit us next, but they never did. But it is still hard to relax around here. We all know that we are overdue to be hit. This is the only airfield in Vietnam that has not been hit yet. Anyway, I guess I will stop complaining for one time. I guess you can tell the kind of mood I'm in. We are on the 15 standby to evacuate this area, and every time I hear the least noise, my heart stops. I love you very much, and I miss you and the boys, who you didn't even mention in your last letter. Very much. All my love. Bill. If you haven't listened to the past few episodes yet, you'll likely be a bit lost for the rest of today's episode. Long story short, I've split up a piece of my writing, and I'm presenting it across a few episodes. I recommend going back and listening to the earlier part. Anyway, here's the conclusion to Finding My Grief. Then, just across from Popi's office, which held the large pixelated picture Mema held during his celebration of life, we came across the first photo they take of a soldier when they finish basic. It faded long ago, but still proudly hangs in her hallway of fame. "Wasn't he so handsome?" she asked proudly. "Very. I wish I could have inherited some of his good looks," I quipped. "No, unfortunately, you look too much like your Mema," she replied with a big grin. "Was he a good soldier?" I asked. "Did people like him?" "He was around so many people and had so many jobs. What did people think of him?" "Well," she began, "the best way to answer that question is to tell you this. One day, when we were living on base, he got a call that one of the men he was training went to the roof of the tallest building and threatened to jump. He kept saying he wanted to kill himself. For some reason, they called Bill. I didn't think it was a good idea to call him out there, but they wanted him. When Pop got there, he yelled up to the guy, asking him why he wanted to kill himself. The man yelled back down that the army was too tough and that he just wanted to get out. Pop got annoyed and told him that he either needed to jump right then and there or come down to stop wasting everyone's time. The story would have been unbelievable if I had never met my grandfather, but it sounded exactly like something he would have done. "So what happened?" I asked. She smiled. The guy climbed back down and asked why Poppy had to be so mean to him. I asked Pop that too. He told me that he wasn't mean. He saved the guy's life and stopped wasting everyone's time. That was just how he did things in the army. Finally, we got to the only picture that exists, which features Mema and Poppy, their 4 sons, the 4 wives at the time, and all 10 grandchildren. It was a graphic representation of everything Mema and Poppy built over the years, even if some parts have come crashing down since. I didn't ask about that photograph. Everything I needed to know Mema was telling me through the look on her face. The pride, the love, the pain, the loss. It was all there. I was there too. The youngest, but certainly not the smallest. My curly blonde hair blowing in the breeze, standing just in front of Popi and his muted smile. He wasn't the perfect grandfather, father, or husband for that matter, but I still miss him, Al. Me too, Mema. Do you still think about him? Every day. In the years since, Mema has shared with me something that she and Popi used to say to each other. We were two halves and we still couldn't make a whole. They may have felt that way, but at the very least, to me, they were whole. It was on that trip when we walked through her rickety trailer and sorted through the things they accumulated over 55 years that I found my grief. I was no longer angry at Popi or his decisions. I didn't resent his apathy or his beliefs. I realized that I couldn't understand why he made the choices he made, but I could try. Among the slides of Vietnam, letters to Mema, VHSs no one wanted, large collection of stolen beer glasses from Germany, and mountains of dusty sheets, I found my grief. It was the first real step I could take towards healing from his loss. I may have once been that angry teenager. I may have stayed that way for a long time. But it was through understanding, honesty, the search for truth, that I found a way to grieve. That grief allowed me to heal and start to understand a complicated person better than I ever thought possible. I'm glad I found my grief. I'm thankful I came to an understanding that made it easier to heal. An understanding brought about through a few simple questions and the patience to find answers, even ones I didn't expect. I'm saying all this to say, you can do it too. Thank you for indulging me in listening to that over these past few episodes. I hope you have enjoyed. The photo I chose for today is a picture from a helicopter cockpit on the ground. It is aimed at another helicopter. They are sitting in a field with a forest around them. I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.